we had a lot of stuff today, Kim. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Diddy's former assistant was
The picture of Obama on a medication bottle. Diddy's already shocking testimony includes this shocking detail. The courtroom also revealed other startling revelations, such as his alleged bizarre drug use and unsettling party demands. The future is not looking good for the music mogul. What is the actual significance of this odd claim? As we investigate each shocking accusation, watch
Combs, David James, returned to the stand. Jurors also heard from the mother of singer Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. He has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas is outside of the courthouse in New York City. Chloe, walk us through what has happened in court so far today.
Yeah, so Ellison, you talked about David James. He is somebody who worked for 2 years for Combs as a personal assistant, and he really pulled back the curtain on what it's like to work for someone like Combs. He said that sometimes his days would be 20 hours at a time, and he would work 21 days in succession with no breaks. And he talked about how he knew that he was signing up for a tough job, but he also talked about how Combs allegedly had him...
Think about that, man. Working 20-hour days, 21 days straight with no break. Think about the stuff he has heard and seen. Think about all this is what I was talking about. This is what I've been waiting for. Because, you know, I know a lot of people are quiet because they probably were going to testify. And then there's people who are quiet because, you know, they're trying not to get on Diddy's bad side, allegedly. But this right here, I said bodyguards and drivers, and of course, personal assistants. These are the people who know the most, seen the most. Wow, that's boy.
So have him get prescriptions under his own name.
Okay, so sorry. I don't know if I can mention all the stuff he would get for Diddy, you know, stuff for Diddy to put in his body, but they were just saying that that's what he was doing. He was the one that was getting this stuff and saying that, you know, now they're getting into the racketeering and all that. Because people were like talking about Cassie saying all of this, yes, is DV, but this is not what he's on trial for. And hey, but wait, there's more. Now we're starting to get into it. They said they were just laying the platform down.
Let us analyze this. Since the testimony of Diddy's former aide, David James, people have been questioning why Barack Obama's face would appear on a prescription bottle. According to James, Diddy never had the pleasant face of the 44th president of the United States when he worked for the renowned singer. In the trial, this assertion created a commotion, and to be honest, it's easy to understand why any pills would have Obama's face on them. Were they prescribed drugs, illicit substances, or just an odd collectible? Although no one has yet to provide a conclusive answer, James' thorough testimony makes it challenging to this specific picture of Obama's visage didn't hold back when James stressed how odd and out of place it seemed. It was dismissed as just a playful comment. Neither the brands nor the types of pills were specified. James said the pill bottles were an oddly regular part of Diddy's everyday routine, not being stowed away in a bag or hidden in a drawer, but being brought out in the open like any other personal belonging. In the courtroom, reactions allegedly varied from disbelief to stifled laughter as he revealed this strange, seemingly unbelievable information. Is he serious? Adds a layer of strangeness to the legal mix and isn't just another ridiculous allegation, stated one onlooker, shaking their head in confusion, and whispered to the person next to them. To the more thorough portrayal of Diddy's personal life. After all, pills can contain powerful connotations, whether they refer to recreational use, medical necessity, or even reckless behavior. But was it a reference to celebrity culture, a secret message, or an over-the-top novelty item? James did not say whether it was a single bottle or part of a larger pattern, but everybody was confused by the specificity of the detail. Legal experts have said that even though these claims might seem trivial or even funny at first, they can help jurors build a psychological profile of a defendant. One analyst suggested that the bottle represents an unpredictable person with odd habits that only support the charges of a chaotic, unusual setting. But here's the kicker. The Obama pill detail has already gone viral outside the courtroom, so James' claim about the mysterious bottle is now entirely based on hearsay because there is no material evidence to back it up, like photos or receipts. Will the defense say it is just a wild exaggeration, or will they say nothing and hope that the public moves on to more serious parts of the testimony? Although Diddy has not testified, James' account has evoked strong feelings in the public, whether accurate or not, and it is just another strange accusation in a growing list of charges, which keeps people on the edge of their seats. But this testimony only becomes more ridiculous because, in addition to pill bottles, there is now James's revelations about Diddy's demands, and the allegations of freak-off parties may make it much harder to believe.
Former assistant was forced up there. We had Cassie's mom take the stand. The Punisher stepped up and got up in there. And then we had a HSI agent from National Security, Homeland Special Agent, who was responsible for the planning. And then we had a tease at the end, a big name coming tomorrow, it sounds like. Whoo! All right, we're going to get through it all,
Potentially.
Kim.
Potentially. We're going to get to it all.
It looks that way. What was your overall takeaway today on day 7?
Overall takeaway, I was surprised. First of all, I will say David James, the assistant, is hilarious. I think everybody was there were multiple notes of people laughing in the courtroom, which technically you shouldn't be doing, but I couldn't help myself either. I had moments where I was just laughing my head off at just some of the answers that he was giving. Of course, his cross-examination was done by Costco lawyer, as we lovingly call him, Mark Ignifilo, because of his baby oil jokes. Or not jokes, but defense that was absolutely ridiculous. After that, we had Cassie's mom. Cassie's mom was not cross-examined. Diddy's team wouldn't do it, which I thought spoke volumes, and definitely learned something new of what she had to go through today. Then we had the Punisher, who was a worker that engaged in some of the FOs. Kind of contradicted himself. More than once. Not good. And then we moved into the HSI agent, and this was the agent who was in charge of organizing the Miami raid.
What is meant by a knockoff party? David James, who used the term in his testimony regarding his alleged experiences working for Diddy, claimed that these were not your typical celebrity house parties, but rather that they were exclusive, tumultuous, and full of situations that made him extremely uncomfortable. The problem is this. Wasn't only there to witness the mayhem. James testified that he was forced to assist with these events, carrying out tasks that he described as intrusive and demeaning. James depicted an environment where excess was the standard. These events reportedly attracted A-list guests with unpredictable expectations and in an environment where it was hard to discern between personal and professional boundaries. James described how, in addition to his duties as an assistant, he was expected to manage Diddy's ostensibly very private requests, cover for unanticipated events, and organize parties. One of the most disturbing charges became increasingly ludicrous as the evening wore on, rendering all that had been going smoothly unpleasant. James revealed that in order to maintain order, he was instructed to monitor the private talks of attendees, which often involved in terms of boundaries. James went beyond what anyone would consider a typical job description. He explained that it was impossible to turn Diddy away during these times because any resistance allegedly led to a toxic mix of demands that felt predatory and personal, putting him in an awkward and dehumanizing setting. James' emotional testimony regarding the impact these charges had on him, whether it was being yelled at, humiliated, or threatened, made them even more damaging. He described feeling imprisoned and unable to leave the work due to fear of the repercussions, saying his mental health suffered greatly as a result of the pressure to meet Diddy's increasingly bizarre expectations during these events. He described each one as a chaotic cycle in which he would always be held accountable for fixing anything that went horribly wrong. James's sharing of one memorable memory from a courtroom robbed the audience. Freak-off party, he told the court about an incident where he allegedly had to escort a hostile guest out and was later held responsible by Diddy for the guest's actions. James claimed that the public humiliation that followed was so severe that it validated his employer's view of him as expendable, And with his other claims, the weight of that memory provided additional depth to his portrayal of working under Diddy's control. If the pill bottles were strange, these accusations of parties go beyond that. They reveal a toxic workplace and suggest a level of control and excess that is hard to comprehend. But it doesn't stop at parties. James's handling of firearms and darker Diddy's handling of them would chill the courtroom.
Carrying out illegal activity and using assistants, security guards, and other individuals that work for him to carry out that illegal activity. So he's one of many individuals that previously worked for Combs that we're going to be hearing from. And like you said, who else did we hear from today? We finally heard from Cassie Ventura's mother. It was very brief on the stand, but she talked about taking photos of her daughter in 2011 when she came home to Connecticut for the Christmas holidays, and that she was shocked to see her daughter's body, that she hadn't been aware that her daughter's relationship with Combs had been violent at this point, and that she took those photos to memorialize them. And thankfully for her, she did, because they showed those in court today to the jurors.
Okay, again, just in case I had to trim out that Cassie's mother was talking about the photos she took revealing all the DV that went on with Diddy. She wanted to, take a photo and keep that for herself, as far as, like a day like this coming. She has those photos. As I said before, Cassie told the mother, and the mother knew about that stuff. She just didn't know about the pre-go. But again, I'm just saying this because it might have been chopped out in the video.
Chloe, explain for us how the prosecution plans to use these witnesses to build their case as it relates to the specific charges Diddy is facing here.
So remember, there are 5 charges, like I said, racketeering, conspiracy. So that's where you get the individuals that worked for Combs, whether it was security, personal assistants, chief of staff. We're going to be hearing from a chef who once worked for Combs. Then you have people like Cassie Ventura, you have her mother, you have individuals talking about coercion, force, feeling that there was so much violence in the relationship for some of these women that they couldn't leave, so therefore they were forced to participate.
When Diddy's former assistant, David James, stated that it was normal to see guns around the mogul's home or at certain gatherings, the testimony shifted from odd to downright unsettling. Sometimes they were not only uncomfortable, but they also felt dangerous. For example, James never held back when he described seeing a loaded gun casually on display at a private function. It was not concealed or kept out of sight, but was visible to everyone who happened to be there. He did not specify whether he was specifically threatened, but he made it clear that the presence of guns and the tense atmosphere Diddy allegedly created made him constantly anxious. And he described a particular incident where the tension in the room was so high that he was afraid something might happen at any time. Concerned about James, these weapons seemed to be emblems of authority, a way to intimidate and dominate others. These allegations might have major legal consequences and prompt further investigations into whether firearms were illegally handled or stored, regardless of any supporting evidence. The commentator said that such allegations often raise questions about safety and liability in cases involving well-known celebrities, particularly if weapons were readily available during parties or work-related events, and that the implication of negligence could have serious consequences even in cases where there is no documented misuse. This, James claimed, along with other troubling accusations, was part of a broader pattern in Diddy's behavior. The toxic environment he described encompassed more than just shouting matches and unreasonable demands. It also included an element of unpredictability where authority and fear were closely. He painted Diddy as someone who thrived on control, which added a darker layer to the already chaotic atmosphere described in earlier accounts, whether it was through his domineering manner or, as James claimed, the implied threat implied by the presence of firearms for the jury and everyone else watching this case unfold. The courtroom reportedly went silent as James recounted his experiences with firearms, and one witness described a moment when even the most ludicrous claims in the case suddenly took on a heavier, more menacing tone. It was also clear to everyone that Diddy, who has been involved in other controversies in the past, linked to weapons-related allegations in the past, but nothing recorded has ever led to criminal charges. James's claim that he never felt fully safe in his role, however, is the most horrifying part of this testimony. Some evenings, he would leave work questioning whether he had survived both physically and emotionally. The court has relied only on James' statements, leaving everyone to speculate as to how much weight they carry, despite the seriousness of these accusations. This isn't the first time that missing evidence has raised such concerns. In this case, is it feasible that Diddy will benefit from the lack of hard evidence, or is this just the beginning of more information will be revealed soon?
Notice that some of his family wasn't in the galley. Well, now it turns out again, right? Diddy's sister was there, but his mom and sons were once again not present. Second day in a row. Take that as you will. But David James, his former assistant, came back on the stand as Kim was sitting up. He seemed a little sassy, Kim. He did say he didn't witness any violence between Diddy and Cassie. However, he did see a blog post alleging that Combs was physical with Cassie at a club. Diddy searched James's computer history. James had been taking Cassie food at the London hotel that week, but he never saw her. Staff always answered the door. He said
a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Right? There's like this report that something's wrong, and then he's delivering food to her at a hotel and doesn't see her for a whole week.
Without a doubt suspicious. Yeah. He then also spoke about this Louis Vuitton bag, regularly carrying $10K in cash, sometimes more. In the bag, there were 25 to 30 undisclosed pill bottles. These types you can see, along with Viagra and Tylenol, to increase manhood count and water pills. He later added this one and other E's to the bag and saw
Perky and
Combs.
X.
Yes, X. There you go. He saw Combs taking them. James said he was reimbursed by Bad Boy for the expenses, such as medicine and snacks, but for certain supplies such as baby oil, Astroglide, and protection, he was told to be reimbursed by Combs' security staff, who would pay him in cash out of Combs' LV bag. Now, I think this is key, right? This is part of the racketeering, the business empire, how he was constructing where money was coming from, cash money being spent, etc. He testified that Diddy requested him to bring an iPad to the hotel room that they were staying in. When no one noticed, no one answered, he walked into the room to deliver the items, and he saw Cassie in a hotel bed with a man he did not know in the room.
I have to correct myself. I think that was a typo. It technically was an iPod, I believe. I believe we are before the time of the iPad being super popular. That was my mistake. But just to be, to
an
be
iPod, I remember
precise.
those before the phone and stuff. Yeah, we had to carry our music around in a separate device. Now it's all in one.
Right.
Well, now he saw this other man in a hotel with Cassie, and he said the man was well endowed. Let's go look at that exchange. I'm curious.
It was kind of one of these things, like it was Inner City Press said it, and we kept waiting to hear how many of these other outlets are going to say he was well endowed. We didn't hear it, but yes.
With long hair and a large endowment.
And he scurried away.
Did you ask anything? I wasn't hired to ask about their personal affairs.
No.
I love the correct answer. Did you ever pick? They keep going. All right, well, there'll be some more. I'm going to go through some of these more sassy responses. Diddy was in the shower. Cassie didn't move. James said he never asked them about it because he did not have conversations with them about their personal affairs. And that's what the job description was. He also claims he was subjected to multiple lie detector tests conducted by former FBI agent due to missing items. He found the experience intimidating and recounted incidents where Combs security searched his belongings after expensive items went missing. Additionally, James revealed that Combs kept footage of him dancing while under the influence at a Diddy party. If I recall this, he said, I'm just going to keep that for later.
Just in case he ever needed something to have on him, he then had it. And that's just unsettling. So it kind of just shows again that this idea of him having something on people seems to be a pattern. And in the grand scheme of things, David did not work for Diddy for an extremely long time. It was about a year and a bit. So I do find it interesting that clearly he was looking for opportunities and he got one and he took it. So kind of sucks. But again, this is also the New Year's Eve party that Cassie always really wanted to go to and apparently never got to because Kim Porter
The question that keeps coming up throughout this trial as people try to piece together the truth behind David James' bombshell claims is whether there is actual evidence to back up these accusations or if this is a case built only on words. It's James' word against Diddy's legacy, and the prosecution's case is starting to suffer from the lack of evidence. The courtroom is currently full of mystery, but what's missing are tangible photos, documents, or even supporting testimony. James had enough years of experience working with Diddy. Some critics speculate that James may have personal or hidden financial agendas, while others argue that it is inexplicable to spend so many years in a supposedly toxic workplace if he claimed to have seen nearly everything behind closed doors. Implies that he stayed because he had no choice, but it is up to the jury to decide whether or not his defenses are credible. Diddy's attorneys aren't just sitting back, though. They have dismissed the charges as baseless and seem determined to challenge them. James' credibility has remained constant throughout, according to insiders. Diddy's lawyers have questioned whether James' statements are credible in the absence of supporting evidence, pointed out inconsistencies in James' testimony, and suggested that James' intentions might not be as pure as he would like people to believe, as if there were more to this story than catches the eye in the past. A well-known celebrity has been the subject of shocking accusations without evidence. Allegations alone have altered careers, but they don't always hold up in court. Consider Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, for instance. Despite the public's support for Depp, it required when a member of Diddy's defense team asked James directly if he had any concrete evidence of the so-called Obama pills. He responded, "I have evidence to sway the verdict in his favor." But some cases fizzle out entirely due to lack of proof. This was one of the scenes in the courtroom that had everyone watching. It was a tense moment, and Diddy remained remarkably composed throughout, despite his demeanor giving away little without concrete evidence. For James, the stakes are extremely high for both sides, and it all comes down to credibility and persuasion. The defense jumped on this, making it clear that they want to paint James as an untrustworthy witness. Even though the courtroom is still waiting for further evidence, the trial's consequences are already being felt since Diddy wants the jury to believe his story in order to protect his reputation, career, and future. Intruding on Diddy's carefully cultivated public persona, what would happen if the tide turned against him?
In 2018, after they had ended their relationship, which he denies. The defense showing text messages between the former couple the day after the alleged rape, including one in which Ventura sent a heart emoji to Combs. Combs' team also trying to poke holes in Ventura's timeline.
That is not the gotcha moment that defense attorneys think it is. I mean, at the end of the day, witnesses are not great on specific dates, particularly when they go back years ago.
The defense also pointing to a text exchange between Ventura and Combs from 2012, in which she wrote, "I don't want to freak off for the last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives." At times today, the defense appeared to struggle to maintain momentum, facing frequent objections by prosecutors and regularly stopping Ventura's questioning to whisper together. Combs appeared to be actively involved, passing his lawyers notes. In a striking exchange with Combs' lawyers, Ventura saying, "Despite it all, I don't hate him. I have love for the past and what it was."
We also saw musician Dawn Richard take the stand. She said that she witnessed Combs be violent with Ventura over the course of their relationship. I just want to remind everyone that Combs denies all of the allegations against him.
The primary concern of the day is how Diddy's career and reputation will be affected by the claims against him, which have sparked a firestorm. From drugs that include Barack Obama's face to outrageous party demands and now firearms, David James' evidence has painted an unavoidable picture of chaos and control. These accusations are shocking, but they also directly challenge Diddy's meticulously cultivated image as a prosperous businessman and mogul who transformed fashion and music. Diddy has long been a representation of power and success, but will he be able to move past outside of the courtroom? Reactions to these stunning charges have been fierce, with social media exploding in response to the testimony, making some of the most bizarre details like the pill bottles into memes almost instantly. Meanwhile, public opinion now appears to be divided, and many followers are leaving. Some individuals are resolutely loyal and accuse James of being opportunistic, while others are siding with James and questioning how much they actually know about the man behind the brand. In particular, newer generations who have known less about Diddy may be the source of this difference. Just as the sectors of his portfolio that don't accept this sort of controversy, Diddy's business ventures, music, alcohol, fashion, and media are as crucial to his survival as his status as an artist and cultural figure. As a public relations expert puts it, it doesn't take much for well-known brands to leave Kanye West's alliances after his scandals, and although no businesses have severed their ties with Diddy yet, the trial isn't over yet. However, endorsements may be in jeopardy if more damaging allegations come to light or if public opinion turns even more sour. A person's reputation can be permanently altered by such scandals. Michael Jackson, for instance, was never found guilty of any crimes. Diddy's supporters may become uneasy at the mere suggestion of instability, leading them to see him as a risk rather than a resource, according to the report. Regardless of how this trial turns out, Diddy now faces a similar dilemma, because the claims might come back to haunt him for years, casting doubt and debate over his accomplishments. James's description of Diddy's Diddy, who has a well-known public persona of confidence and swagger, reportedly attacked him at a disastrous freak-off party. During the testimony, Diddy's jaw remained set, and court observers noticed that he was holding onto the edge of the table tightly. This was a rare moment of composure because the trial involves it's far from over, and if this pattern keeps up, there's a chance that more accusations will come out. Will Diddy's empire be further damaged by the growing allegations, or will his decades-long reputation be able to endure the pressure? The world is left in suspense as every fresh finding, without a doubt, erodes the stronghold he has built. Is this Diddy in person?
I'm talking about when you are putting fear into people's heart. Of course they're going to do whatever you say. So on the outside, it may look consensual, but it's not. These people, these women, and probably some guys too, basically scared for their lives. So again, his team is trying to say consensual when they're saying no. This is how you get into this stuff, is putting the fear in their heart. They can't leave because they're scared what's going to happen. So now they're going to do whatever he's asking, you know, to stay alive, to keep their careers, whatever the case may be. Because like I said, these people were promised things, and then I can take it away from you just like that. You know, I was looking at a comment here. Someone said, trying to figure out why a billionaire would want 20K chump change from the mom, and why would he give it back? Wait, what? 20K? He gave it back because he realized it was a criminal offense. What is that about? Hold on. 20K? I'm trying to look that up. See what this is about. Cassie mother says Sean Diddy Combs demanded $20,000 because her daughter was seeing someone else. Oh, that's what the David James testified? Wait, David James, former assistant Sean Diddy Combs testified. No. Wait, hold on. No, they said, I'm sorry, it was just a picture of the David James dude. Okay, hold on. An angry Sean Diddy Combs demanded $20,000 from Cassandra, Cassie Ventura's mother, and threatened to release explicit tapes of his longtime girlfriend after learning she was dating someone else. The mother testified Tuesday at the hip-hop mogul's trial. Regina Ventura said she felt physically sick when her daughter sent her an email in late 2011 to Combs to say Combs threatened to release videos of her and send someone to hurt her and the man she was seeing, the rapper Kid Cudi. Wow. I didn't understand a lot of it. The tapes threw me off, Ventura told Manhattan Federal Court. Ventura of New London, Connecticut said she then received a demand from Combs for $20,000. He was angry that he spent money on her and she went with another person, she said. Cudi, whose real name is Scott Miscuti, I can't pronounce that, sorry. Oh, snap, he's gonna testify Thursday, Kid Cudi?
Accusations of chaos, control, and danger behind the scenes are not just obscene. They make industry fans reevaluate the man behind the empire. Dylan's legacy has been at a crossroads for years because he has been hailed as a cultural icon who shaped music, fashion, and business. But if they are true, they could completely change the narrative. Will this trial be the turning point that overshadows his accomplishments? Or will it be a passing scandal that fades with time? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe for the most recent updates as this courtroom drama unfolds.